the launch officer is now in control of the airplane, okay? Now what's happened when they do this is cock the gun. And the way the gun is cocked is out on the port catwalk right out here, about 100 feet down, there's a console. And there's another highly trained young man, just like this, who's actually going to launch the airplane. So visualize now, our feet are off the brakes, the airplane is wound up. Check this guy. Got his hands up in the air like this. Do you think he's surrendering? I don't think so. Anybody want to take a shot? You get an answer to this, you don't have to take the test. What do you think he's doing?
Countdown.
Well, that's close. Hey, that's kind of cute. How'd you do that? No.
Feet off?
What he's saying is this. If that catapult fires right now with that airplane wound up, I didn't do it. And that's the signal. His hands are up just like this. He's watching that yellow shirt out here. The yellow shirt at that stage of the game with this young man up, because right down here, there's two buttons that are going to fire it. What the yellow shirt or launch officer does, and he's right out here. You remember where they set the weight in for the catapult? That's where he's standing, right out there. He's watching, the pilot's watching him. If everything looks good to him, he's got his hand up in the air like this, he will look at the pilot and indicate he needs an indication from the cockpit. Because when this catapult fires, something very unique is going to happen. The pilot looks around, checks his cockpit, will probably sweep it out like this. These new airplanes today are different than the A7. Make sure everything's running. The standard signal, if you will, for launch of an aircraft carrier is the pilot is supposed to give a snappy salute to the launch officer. Everybody has their own way of doing it. But here's the thing. Whatever you do, if you're the aviator in the cockpit, when you're wound up and this catapult's ready to go, that's no time to scratch your nose, put your visor down, because that can be construed as what? I'm ready to launch. You may not be ready to go. Well, let's for sake of argument say everything's going, but all of a sudden he doesn't want to go in the daytime. What do you think the signal might be that I don't want to go? Naval aviators aren't too smart sometimes. It's just this. And here's where the pedal hits the metal. Naval aviators also don't trust people with a loaded catapult. That yellow shirt will step right out in front of that airplane, right there, hold his hands up, just like this. And I mean right in front. And then give a throttle back signal and a hold. When that's done, you can take the airplane off the catapult. They'll stand it down. But let's just say for the sake of argument, you're ready to launch. Skipper's ready. He looks out, sweeps the cockpit. Yellow shirt is out here. And you give him the old salute, right? Now, I'm getting too old for this. I can't get down and get up. But we'll use a picture. You notice this guy who can still get down and get up, the kneel's down like this with one knee. What the launch officer does at that stage of the game is he goes down on that knee like this, checks the flight deck to make sure it's clear, to make sure the bow is not doing this, and bad place to launch, right? Swim call, he wants it coming up like this. And when everything is checked, he will touch the deck and point down. At that stage of the game, if you're in the cockpit, you can go like this. One potato, whoosh! 2 seconds later, that sucker fires. 254 feet to the end of this ship. You're doing 165 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
There's no stopping you. Now you're going off the end. What happens at that stage is the dog bone is broken to release the airplane. As we come off, we come right out of the shuttle. The airplane simply flies out. You turn around to the airplane on the other catapult, you wind it up the same way. And as that's happening, your wingman is taxiing into position here. And by the way, when that one is launched, this one had better be ready to go. And you just go back and forth, just like this, and launch them. Now that's the launch. I'll add one thing. Somebody said, can you put it into something we could understand a little bit better than a whoosh and 165 miles an hour? If you came in a Ford or Chevrolet, a four-door sedan today, God bless you, you're what makes this ship go, our guest, I love you. And you put one on this catapult and fired it at that thing, it goes one more past that island over there at about 500 miles an hour. And somebody over there would say, don't do that again. These are very powerful. and they have to stop. And the way they stop is in a water break down at that end. And when they do hit that water break, they stop at 10 feet, and you can feel it all over the ship. So you just crank them up, crank them out, crank them up, crank them out. And that's the launch, my friends. Questions?